James,
Over here,
James, go.
When will the episode on soil come out? The people want to know.
Listen, I am not at liberty to say.
James,
James!
can you at least give us a few spoilers?
Don't you mean soilers?
So when are you resigning?
Hey guys, James O'Hara here, and welcome to another episode of Project Str-Eng. Today's episode is going to be our dirtiest episode yet, because that's right, we're finally talking about soil. I know, truly groundbreaking. Soil is a very important thing to consider when you want to make a building. What kind of soil is on the site? How deep is the bedrock? How deep is the water table? Also, what the hell is a water table? This is where our good friend, the geotechnical consultant, comes in.
Geotechnical consultant.
Remember him? He's the guy on site walking around like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. It's the geotech's main job to drill holes in the ground and pull up cores of soil to see exactly what sort of soil we're dealing with on the site. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds boring. 'Cause it is boring. Like literally boring with a bore, boring holes. These bore holes are typically 10 centimeters wide and between 60 and 100 meters deep. That's so deep, it's practically a Kubrick film. The good news is they keep this information on hand for years and years. So if a previous build on the same site already did this process, you probably don't have to do it again because that would be redundant and unnecessary and redundant. The geotech is testing a lot of things and in multiple places all over the site to get a clear picture as to what this project specifically needs. How far can we dig? How heavy can the structure be before it will cause instability in the ground? Are we talking Beach Boys level heavy or are we talking cryptopsy? Sorry, is that reference to underground? They are also checking to see how deep the water table is. And before you ask, no, a water table is not a table made out of water, and it is also not a table next to the waterbed your uncle bought in 1985. The water table is a representative line in the ground that tells us where the groundwater is. Have you ever been at the beach as a kid and decided to dig a hole to China? And I'm sure really quickly on your journey, that hole started to fill with water? How did this happen? You're far enough away from shore that certainly no water trickled in, and the water can't be coming from China because China only has water on its eastern border. Did you miss Beijing by a couple hundred kilometers and somehow end up in the Yellow Sea? Ay-ya! Don't worry, my friend. This means you've just struck the water table. This can be a huge pain because not only will the water table make your hole much more difficult to dig in, but it'll also greatly affect your sandcastle's underground parking. You'd think the water table would only be a problem at the beach, but the truth is the water table is everywhere, all over the world, even under the Sahara Desert. You might have to dig for a while, but it's there. It's there. It's right there.
But James,
I hear you cry.
I need to build below the water table in order to build my building. How do I do that?
Well, there's a very neat trick to get around that. By building wells around the site, we can effectively lower the water table in the area temporarily. This allows us to dig our hole without it flooding, and then we put up walls and a floor that water can't penetrate. Now, when we fill in the wells and the water table rises back to its normal level, it can't get into our dig. And bam, just like that, you have underground parking that isn't also underwater parking. This is usually a good sign for most buildings, but sometimes leads to discrimination lawsuits from fish tenants.
So I came into park like I usually do, and next thing I knew I was flopping on the ground, and I just think it was incredibly inconsiderate of the engineers.
Yeah, sure. Let's just see what the jury has to think.
Just keep
Oh,
swinging,
come on!
just keep swinging.
But it's not just the water in the soil we need to think about. We also need to consider the soil itself. We need to think about the rate at which the soil settles. Like if it settles really quickly, like settles without even thinking about it quickly, like settles like your friends who got married right out of high school. We also need to consider the soil all around the site. Like if the soil over here settles faster than the soil over here, that can cause structural issues and put cracks in the foundation. This can lead to huge structural damage and the concrete will split. Like your friends who got married right out of high school. Maybe soil should have got a better job first, or maybe they should have discussed whether or not they wanted kids before settling. We also need to consider the weight of the soil around the build. If the soil is putting too much inward force on a structure, it can collapse, like your Christmas tree after your uncle drunkenly falls into it. And yes, this is the same uncle with the waterbed, and no, we do not talk to him anymore. To avoid this, we can actually put anchors in the bedrock to hold the walls in place, like your aunt standing between her husband and the Christmas tree. The thing about soil is that most people take it at face value. They only see the surface, but they don't realize there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on down there. So it's a good thing we have the geotech to take care of all the boring stuff.
Oh, brother, you already used that joke.
Wow, Patrick, way to keep me grounded.
Shut up!
Enjoy the process. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and also the little bell. Also leave a comment that says, wow, that guy is cute and sure knows a lot about buildings. I'll go first.